Hello YouTubers, welcome back to my channel, Workshop Fun. It's been quite a while since I posted an update. I have been basically turning around and ironing out the last of the teething problems and fixing a couple of problems that also developed along the way. I thought it's about time I posted an update of, living in the caravan and, problems that arise as you go, and rounding things up. So today I'll get started, or tonight, sorry, I'll get started with recent developments of underneath here, where basically all my main system meets to the main junction point. So if any of you have followed my last videos, you'll see in my last videos you'll recognize these two bus bars, but you won't recognize the isolation switch and the two new bus bars and these three high quality breakers that I brought. So long story short, what happened one day is I had my coffee machine going, which draws a lot of power through the inverter, and my original isolating switch, which I thought was a good one, basically nearly set fire. It was so close that it wasn't funny. There was smoke pouring out of it. It had actually burnt the, not plastic, it's that type of stuff that they use for insulating switches and stuff. Anyway, it had basically burnt that and dissolved it, and smoke was pouring out of here through the fans, and wow, straight away I had a problem. So I shut it down. Unfortunately, I managed to get it in time before it set fire, and then I bought this very high quality BEP switch. It's a 600 amp continuous rated, and it has 12mm brass terminals coming out of it. It's very heavy duty, and this doesn't even get warm running my coffee machine, and it doesn't even really it gets a bit warm when I'm running my hot water cylinder and my coffee machine at one hit, but even then not that bad. So after that though, that also kind of made me aware that when I was shutting down the power, I couldn't shut down all my solar to the battery bank very quickly. I had to, walk around a couple of areas of the caravan, and when you're in an emergency, that's not ideal at all. So that made me change things up quite a lot more, and that's why I put these three breakers, because now I can turn that isolating switch off and push these three breakers within split seconds, and that stops all current going to the bus bars and through my caravan and also through the battery bank. So it works out really good. The other thing I wanted to do, just get rid of that old part of the zip tie. The other thing I wanted to do is take the load off the main bus bars and spread it. So just here you can see there's two new bus bars. They're 400 amp rated. Now all the solar and all my caravan's 12 volt power runs through the 400 amp bus bars, and then they're connected to my main bus bars through two 50mm square leads, one red, one black of course, and that has taken off a lot of load off these bus bars here. There's now very little on these bus bars, but there are some main things here, and that's the first key one is the inverter, and that draws a lot of power, so there's no longer all the heat of the solar coming into these bus bars and the heat that's created through drawing high current from the inverter. So you could call it, I guess, a hybrid system. Many people have dual bus bars, and it's something that I learnt the hard way, which is a good idea. So basically spread the load. This all took a lot of work, a lot of reconfiguring, a lot of time making it neat, and yeah, now it's a very good, reliable, sturdy system, and I shouldn't have any more trouble with the thing trying to catch fire. The other thing I did was I have simplified everything in here, so it's a lot simpler than when it was in my last videos, and that's because I'm no longer running this solar charger off this breaker in behind it with its own separate breaker and what was it, thermal break. It had a breaker to cut it off and a thermal breaker to prevent it surging. So yeah, that's all gone now, and it's all just this one breaker here. So that's all gone, and here this breaker is now a 50 amp rated breaker for my high output Anderson plugs on the outside of my caravan, so I can turn them on and off via that as well. Right now they're off, and I made some nice new leads using 16 mil square twin core cable, and that comes off the main bus bars and down it and goes down underneath my caravan. Okay, so everything's looking so much more tidier now and is so much safer. The other thing I did is remounted the caravan's power box properly. Finally, I did up this lid that goes over the top of the power box. I had my electrician come in and get rid of a couple of the plastic rubbish plugs in there and hook the power leads straight up into the breakers. So it's a lot safer now, because they were suffering from a little bit of leakage, which is not good. So I got him to do that because, well, I could have done it, but quite frankly I'm just getting a bit sick and tired of electrical work. I have done a bucket load, and he would have had to site it anyway, because it had to be sited or done by an electrician. So he's quite a good friend now anyway, and I trust him to do good work, so it was nice getting somebody else to do it. But what I did do in here is I relocated the caravan's original fuse holder and brought it up further in here, and I put a bus bar system in there and hooked in 2 new blade fuse holders, because the caravan's original fuse holder had 2 fuse holder areas burnt out, so the fuses weren't actually making proper contact in there, and that had been because somebody had been monkeying around in the past and actually hooked up a car charger into this setup, which, if anybody knows anything about caravans, you're not supposed to have a car charger hooked up into a caravan system. It doesn't do good things to the batteries, and the system doesn't like it either. So anyway, that's all fixed now, and the positive result of that is, of course, when I'm in my shower, the bathroom lights don't suddenly cut out, or in my bedroom the lights don't suddenly cut out anymore. It's all just stable and works nicely. Now I can't show you in behind there because it's a lot to take that off, but I can show you up here to give you an idea of the bus bar that I used inside of there. It's exactly the same as this one, and it's a BEP, good quality, rated at 200 amps, so more than what the caravan system will ever need. and it's just made everything a lot safer. So that's what I've been doing underneath here for the last couple of months, just basically not rebuilding it but perfecting it and restructuring quite a bit of it. Now, just a quick thing, when I put these bus bars in too, it wasn't as simple as just screwing them down, because I'd made a stand for these original bus bars, so I had to make another stand that could butt up against my original stand to hold the new bus bars, and I had to make it so it perfectly, or not perfectly, but actual fact largely perfect anyway, butt up against the old stand, and I glued it together using my white marine sealant, and then painted the new stand that blends in with the old stand now, so it all just looks like one unit. And now the new bus bars screw onto that, and it just gives it that whole neat look. It doesn't sort of look disjointed, which is nice. It just looks like how I originally made it. Okay, moving right along. The next teething problem I sorted out was actually in here. Now, originally I had put little 80mm small fin fans in here, thinking that they were going to be quiet because that's how they were advertised, as silent, and that they were going to be quite good for cooling down in here, you know, cooling my solar chargers in here. Anyway, long story short is they were not very good. Even though they spun at a much higher RPM, they weren't very good at cooling in here, and they were not silent. They were incredibly loud. So I bought these two 120mm fans and put them in, and to do that, of course, I had to drill the holes out bigger. I just used the center of the original stainless grills to capture the big hole driller, and that gave me my center hole, and they actually came out perfect. And then I bought these 135mm stainless grills, which are actually shower catchers. That's what these stainless grills are. So if you're looking for something that looks quite cool to cover your fans up, look on AliExpress and look up shower catchers. They are expensive though. These were $20 each New Zealand, so you don't want to buy them every day, but hey, they last forever. They're stainless steel, and well actually even with the lights on, they look kind of freaking cool actually. And with the light off, you know, they remind me of old-fashioned speakers actually. They just look cool. Now these run quiet and they do cool down in there, so that's good. The thermostat sets the fans on, and these fans cool down enough in there that the thermostat actually kicks off and the fans stop. So it's nice. I can have the thermostat going all the time now, and it kicks the fans on. It doesn't matter. It won't wake me up in the middle of the night, and it won't annoy me during the day. It's just really nice and quiet, like the fans down in here. So moving right along, just as a little nicety, I bought some mats for in here. One other, so that, yeah, that's just for aesthetics. And one other thing I had a problem with is my door seal has started to leak. I'm going to get a new door seal for this door. It's not hard, but one thing I found that was silly about the Caravan, I'll just get my torch here. Okay, the Caravan, just out of the factory, at the base of the door, doesn't have any drains. So if the rubber seal to your door leaks, it just floods your Caravan. So what I did is I sealed down all in this area, like made sure that it was all sealed off and watertight, and then I got two bits of aluminium 10mm inner diameter pipe, flared it and flush fitted it, and actually slightly countersunk it into the base of the door area, and put them in with some sealant and clean them off. And then I put this, I'll just turn this torch off, I think it's too bright. I put this white strip along here, which is just that alloy rubber material, and built up in behind here with sealant. So now what this does is the water drips down into here now, and it runs down this, builds up a little bit in here, not much, and then it drains down these two drains, and they're plenty wide enough that they don't block up easy. I check them every now and again, but I've never found them blocked up. And now I don't have water leaking in here. I just get a little bit of water in here on the edge here from my cat door, but oh well, can't help that, and I'm not worried about that. It's not flooding the caravan. Now the next big thing I have done, I think you guys saw it in the last video, but it's all well and truly finished now, is my pre-filter. So before any water goes into my freshwater tank, it has to pass through this. So I can't show you at the moment because it's night time and it's pouring down with rain, but the water comes in here and then out here, and it passes through these two nice pass-throughs in my caravan floor that I've put down here. You can just see them down there, and I've even put a nice plate underneath with that same white alloy composite material, and that's glued and screwed underneath, and it passes through there and then comes out to this nice fitment that I've made where it has two brass fittings for, or two brass hose connectors. So I bought a drinking water hose, and one's your inlet and one's your outlet. So of course your hose from your tap comes to the inlet, and then your outlet you have another short bit of hose, and that runs up to my caravan filler, which is my custom filler that I made with the brass hose fitting too. So all I simply do is turn it on, and this filters the water down to 5 microns. But the main reason for this filter that the main reason why I installed this big filter is because it also takes out any metals in the water. So I got really nice bore water here, but I just don't want to have any metals in it. So before it even goes into my freshwater tank, it's already filtered. Then I still also have my 2 kitchen filters. The debris catcher, which is not as necessary anymore, but it's still catching any debris that might build up in the tank. And then my 0.6 micron filter, which takes out any harmful bugs. So I got a really good filter system in here now. I dare say it's better than some people's houses, of course, but it's working well. I've been using it now for over a month, and it's been going fantastic. So that's all nice. Haven't done much work in here. It's all the same pretty much. Just everything runs nice and stable in here now because the caravan fuses ain't basically dying on me. It wasn't that it was popping the fuses, it's just that the actual fuse holder was stuffed. It had been mounted. So only in 2 fuses though, and it's the one that the car charger was hooked into and the one next to it. The rest are actually perfectly fine. But anyway, so yeah, so everything else is all good now. It's just been ironing out teething troubles. Anyway, the next video I upload will be just a bit more about what it's like living in here, and hopefully no major teething problems now. Oh, there was one last thing I did too. I'd forgotten about that. All my breakers are the red ones. So that's a pro tip for anybody. When you're ordering breakers, like I got mine through Ali, the red ones are usually 1000 volt. Just double check that. Don't get the orange ones though. They're usually only 500 volt rated. These are DC 1000 volt rated. So this is a 6 amp one, but it's rated to 1000 volt surge as well, not just 500. So all my breakers are now red, and all of them are rated at DC 1000, 1000 volt. It's a little pro tip. I didn't know that when I set this up, so of course I got the orange breakers. They're slightly cheaper, but yeah. Anyway, I've changed them all out for these better ones. So just something to know. Okay then. Well, I hope this finds everybody well, and happy Easter, and hope everybody has a nice evening. Thank you very much. Bye.